Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight on this Tuesday evening. I appreciate your being here. I see some very familiar faces here in this group, which is a lot of fun. And my goodness, I even see some people that were here on the call this morning today. So you guys got to get a life. There's more to life than camp, but I appreciate your support and thanks for being here tonight. We also have on our phone call tonight, being a participant, is Sarah Cohen. Sarah Cohen, why don't you wave? Sarah is our program director, and she's been with us for many, many years at camp. And she's our program director. She is a domestic engineer in the off season, but she's got her hands full. But she's been very busy with us during the summer, particularly working out the schedule that we're doing this summer. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about camp, what's going to going forward. I can't assume that everyone here has attended all these calls now, but this is really an informational call for you. And as I will also answer questions that you can type in on the chat frame there, and then later in the call, we'll unmute everybody and we can all talk and ask questions of each other. If you have a personal question about your child at camp, uh, feel free to, you can email me directly if you want, if you don't want to ask the group here. Obviously, if there's something personal in nature about your camp, whether it's a particular cabin assignment or a bunkmate or a particular habit that your camper might have, you don't want to share with everybody else, we can deal with that offline and we'll maintain a sense of confidentiality. But I'm going to open up with a word of prayer and then we'll get going. Lord, thank you for giving me the honor of working at this camp for so many years. Thank you for the enjoyment and the fun of working with the kids and meeting so many parents over the years. And Lord, yeah, you know that we are in uncharted waters, that there's no camp director's manual or parents manual for dealing with COVID. And a lot of us have had to make it up as we go. We just ask your wisdom and guidance going forward, Lord, um, and help keep people safe, help keep people well. And we look forward to the day when we can start camp this summer. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so we are going to have camp this summer. Yay! And nothing's going to stop us getting in the way, hopefully, for having camp this summer. We are really excited. I cannot tell you how disappointed I was not to have camp last summer. I've told some people that I had a couple walks in the woods, one by myself and one with my wife when we realized we couldn't have camp last summer. And it was just kind of devastating because camp has been so much of a part of my life. And then realizing that how many kids I've already been cheated out of proms and school experiences and things like that. And then, of course, I have to think about you, the parents, thinking about all the time that you've invested with your kids this year. Some of you have become homeschoolers, homeschooling parents. And I know there's a lot of more appreciation sometimes for some of what the teachers are going through. I also have another appreciation for teachers too. My brother's a teacher, and just to see all the work that he's had to put in on Zoom calls this year, teaching his classes is just incredible. So I've got to think it's going to be easier when everybody gets back at back at back on regular track. Um, the This call tonight is for Brookwoods and Deer Run parents. We've got another calls tomorrow. If you're going to have someone going to Moose River, and Seth Coates will be hosting that. We in the last 3 weeks, we've had an update from the New Hampshire governor's office about some changes for the camp opening up. All good, all on the right track. The biggest change to really talk about is the fact that we don't have to have a quarantine period before you come into New Hampshire, which is really good. However, having said that, Jenny Murray, we don't want your kids to go to the bar or be out really late at night just before they come to camp. We want to keep them well and keep them safe. Okay, so keep them under control. No parties or things like that. We are still required to have some tests for camp. And what I'm going to talk about now is what's the regulations right now. Perhaps it could change in the future. Maybe it will, but these are what we have to do in New Hampshire to operate our camp. And so we don't have a lot of wiggle room in this. The first test that we are going to require is everyone coming to camp will have a COVID test within 7 days of coming to camp. Um, and then the camp will have to be provided that information that they've had not a positive test, but obviously a negative test for COVID. Campers and everybody will be tested on incoming day. at camp. We have to do right now, we have to do the mid nasal test. We don't have to do the deep nasal test. And so everyone will be tested on incoming day. And then on day 5, we're also required to test everybody in camp. And this is so we maintain the camp bubble and everybody's safe inside the camp bubble. And that's the procedure right now that the state of New Hampshire is asking us to do, and which of course will be required to follow. Maine is going to be a little bit different. They have different procedures in Maine. They might be a little bit different there. So that testing is going to be required. We're trying to figure out the best way to do the testing. And it seems like on a daily basis, I get contacted by testing agencies who say, "Hey, Bob, we'd love to do testing for your camp, and it's only this much money, and we could do this and that and stuff like that." So I think some of the testing agencies are realizing that maybe they're going to start losing some money. They're not going to have as much business when colleges are shutting down for the summer and stuff like that. But we've been approached for a lot of different places on testing. We still haven't picked the solution yet. We don't have to pick it just yet. We're going to hold out to see exactly what testing is going to be required by the state. So in that sense, I'm just going to ask all the parents and the staff as well, just to be patient on that. But right now, the way the regulations are, we'll have to have a test before you come, test first day, and then test on day 5. We are looking at one agency. We're trying to figure out also the least cost effective way to do the most cost effective way to do the testing. Um, One agency that we're looking at will actually send you your family a Federal Express kit. You can do the mid test and the nose with the kit. You can Federal Express back to the lab. The lab will let us know, and you know too the results of that test before camp. That will make it really easy for you to do it. They're also when you get the test, when you send the test back in the lab, they will also um, and I'm not going to say the right words here, but they'll bill your insurance company. They'll put it against your insurance, so it doesn't have to come out of your pocket, depending on the insurance plan you have. We think that's a good idea because just to be for consistent with everybody here, and I think we've all been through that a little bit testing for most people. The test at camp, uh, we'll be doing the test here with our medical staff and then sending that in first day, sending it to the lab. We'll probably get results on Tuesday. And then on Friday, we'll be doing a test again for people that are here longer than 2 weeks, longer than a month or 2 weeks, again on Saturday and get the results. Obviously, if we have any positive COVID tests, we'll let you guys know. We'll get the parents know. And I also want to share that we're going to up our game this summer on communication. We realize that most parents have had a lot more communication this year from the schools about what's happening. Sometimes I think the communication's too much in the sense that I get tired of hearing about COVID, but we understand the need and the want to do that. So we're going to be having some more additional communication. Now I can tell you what the communication is not going to be. Jeff Oliver, your kids are not going to be able to get on a Zoom call and talk to you at camp and tell you that they're fine. That is just not going to be practical here because we've got 400 people here at camp. We don't have enough bandwidth to that, and we don't have enough time to do that. Camp should be a fun time away. But we will do is we'll have more reports from myself and from the camp directors of what's going on at camp. So you have some sense that things are good. Remember at camp, no news is good news. Okay. No news means everyone's well. Uh, no news means your kid's having a good time at camp. No news is no issues with homesickness or bedwetting or all kinds of other surprises that happen at camp. We have 1,000 kids that come to camp here. And every year it seems like some mother comes up to me and says, "Oh, how did Jimmy do at camp?" And unfortunately, I have to somewhat sheepishly confess that I might not know Jimmy. And when the parent says, "Well, how come you don't know Jimmy?" My response is, "Well, because Jimmy was a great kid. Jimmy wasn't in my office having a discipline problem, and I didn't have to be on the phone with you. So praise the Lord on that one." So honestly, I don't know all the kids at camp, but we do know a lot of them, and we're going to try to keep you informed of what's happening at camp. We want you to relax at home. We want you to drop the kids off at camp. We want you to go to Aruba for a couple of weeks or whatever, and just have some fun because you guys deserve it too. This has just been a tough year. You guys deserve it, and your kids deserve a good time at camp. Some new activities, if you haven't heard yet, coming up this summer. We've got some really safe activities coming up. One is axe throwing. That's a new activity we have at camp. Actually, it really is very safe. We tried it last summer doing our Winnipesaukee weekends, and everybody loved it. We even had some of the moms try it, and they really enjoyed it too. So we did axe throwing, and then a new activity we have at camp is last summer we put in what we call a Zoom flume. It's a 90-foot water slide that goes through the woods near the scuba shack, between the scuba shack and the lake cottage, and dumps into the lake. It's a 90-foot slide. And we had dads and moms and kids enjoying that last summer, testing that out. So that will be available this summer. So those are the two new activities. When your kids get to camp, they're going to have to wear some masks. Right now, the state of New Hampshire says that they're going to have to wear masks unless they're in their own cohort. Their cohort is really the cabin group. So when they're with their cabin group, don't have to wear a mask. Certain activities don't have to wear a mask. For example, water skiing, you're not going to have to wear a mask, obviously. Swimming activities, you don't have to wear a mask on. But if you're not in your cabin group, you're in another activity, particularly inside or close by, you will have to wear a mask at camp. So send your kids with enough masks for whatever period of time they are. Now, you know your kids better than I do. You know how fast they're going to go through the mask. Personally, I think the kids are really much better with a mask. I'm the type of guy that I almost get to the corner, the door to the grocery store, and realize I didn't have my mask, and I got to go back to my car. I've seen some of the kids around; they're just kind of get used to that. So if your kids are if you want to send them with cloth masks, that's great. If they're here for a month, campers we can wash the mask in their laundry. That's fine. If you're the type of parent that want to send them with some disposable masks, the new one every day, that's fine too. Just pack it in their bags. We will have a few backups up camp for emergencies, but we're asking the parents to supply the mask for camp coming up. Dining hall, we're going to have two separate sittings in the dining hall. The dining hall seats normally about 425 people, so we'll have half of that in there, and that way we can maintain social distance um, between all the groups, the cohorts. For example, the Fox cabin will walk in as a group. They'll wash their hands outside our new hand washing station. They'll walk in the dining hall, and then only when they sit down at the table, they'll take off their mask. The waiter goes up to get the food. The waiter will have a mask on and go up and get the food. Um, a couple weeks ago, I was in a Whole Foods, which I really enjoy going to Whole Foods, and I saw a device there that in front of the salad bar would actually put gloves on your hands. And what they were doing is they were giving people sanitization at the Whole Foods with your hands, and then you go up to the station. They put gloves on your hands, touchless gloves. There's an air system, and then they can go back into the salad bar at Whole Foods. And I think that was pretty neat. So I'm not going to promise that we're going to be able to do that at the Camp Sarah. I know you're interested in going to the salad bar, but we're going to take a look at that and see if that would work. Because obviously, I remember years ago we didn't even have sneeze guards. Now we have sneeze guards, and now we got to figure out how to keep it safe between people there at camp. The activities, we'll be able to run most of the activities at camp that we have planned. Some activities probably not. Um, Self-defense probably not. Ballroom dancing probably not. Those are activities we're not going to do. We'll be doing as much as we can outside. We're going to even read Narnia outside. John Haratunian has already been told that he'll be reading Narnia outside, and we've got a little speaker system for him, and he'll be sitting on the chapel stage there, and the kids can sit in the seats there and enjoy Narnia this year. So we're trying to do as much as we can and normal as we can at camp. But there will be some adjustments, and it'll be helped if you prepare your kids that camp's going to be fun. It might not be like always, but it's still going to be fun. I'm always amazed that the parent that calls and says, "Gee, Johnny really disappointed about coming to camp this year because we just found out that as an 8-year-old he can't do shooting bolt action 22s at camp." And we said, "Well, yeah, you can't. He's going to get to do BBs at camp." Well, he really wanted to do 22s. And it's like, well, what about the other 39 activities at camp? You got to focus on the things you can do at camp, and particularly this COVID environment. Focus on the things that we can do and enjoy. And I don't know what the age is for axe throwing. I got to look that one up. Maybe my program director knows that, but I'm not sure what the age is for axe throwing. We have little axes and small axes. I think we did it with all kinds of ages. They're throwing axes at targets, by the way. They're not throwing at each other. They're throwing it at targets that are up in the field. It's very safe. The staff actually gave me the chance, as one of the privileges of being the executive director, you get to try things out, and of course you get to go first, which means you get to make a fool of yourself first. So we set up the axe throwing, and they handed me axe to throw. And I've never thrown an axe before. It was interesting. It's not like the old Daniel Boone movie theater where the guy threw it right and split the log. So I threw it as hard as I could. It hit about 10 feet in front of the target on the dirt, bounced up and stuck in the target. So looked good, wrong form. So that's axe throwing. Okay. Uh, Drop off at camp. Right now, the state is saying that we basically need to drop off and not have parents walking around camp. This is something I've got a personal little bit of an issue with because it's one thing for a family who's been here many years, like Jeff Oliver, your kids, they're probably just going to wave at you and say, "See you later, Dad," and they'll be running to the cabin, and I get that. And the Pettignato kids the same way. But there'll be some kids, honestly, and the parents too. They'll be the first time here at camp, and what do we do about that 8-year-old girl, her first time in the cabin, a little anxiety going to camp? So give us a chance to figure that out. We're not exactly sure how we're going to do that yet. It might not be a fair system. It might be that somebody new to camp the first time, we'll give them a hall pass to get down to the cabin and they can see. I can tell you that we're not going to have more than one person in the cabin at a time. We want to keep everybody safe. And those of you who are more experienced, we might just do the drop off, but we're going to discourage people from running all over camp definitely when they get up here. We have got, we're right now, we're still planning on picking up kids at the airport in Logan Airport in Boston. If you're going to fly your kids in, Jeff, I see you're from Denver, right? Yeah. We're going to pick them up and we'll take them to camp, give them the test. The only hiccup is that if a child gets sick at camp with COVID, and we obviously tested was sick at camp, they'll have to be picked up within 24 hours at camp. So obviously we got a few hours leeway on that one too, but they'll need to be picked up within 24 hours of camp, and this is a state regulation. I can't do anything about that. So if you're going to fly your kid to camp, just come up with Plan B. So if you do happen to get the phone call that says, "Guess what? You're the lucky parent," come up with Plan B. Plan B might be a relative or a friend in the area can pick up your child. Obviously, the camp cannot drive that child back to the airport. The camp, the child will be in isolation until it gets picked up. Now, let's say someone does get sick at camp. What happens then to the rest of the cabin? Well, let's just say it's in the Fox cabin, and a young man in the Fox cabin gets sick, and we've decided he's positive. The rest of the cabin will be isolated. And what I mean by isolated, they're not going to be sitting in the cabin for the next 10 days. We're going to adjust their program activities so they can still enjoy camp as much as possible. They're just going to do it with each other. They're not going to be doing it with everybody else at camp. So we'll have to put some restrictions on things they can do, but they'll get to do camp. They're not going to be doing it with other kids. For example, they might not be able to go to an activity with other kids in the activity. They'll get that activity all to themselves. So, maybe they're going to be doing axe throwing all themselves. They don't have to share it with the whitetail cabin or the wapiti cabin, which they'll probably like anyways. So they'll still be in camp. They'll still have some fun as we continue the protocols for that. Our medical staff is in the process of writing up the protocols. It seems like every time we get it written up, some things change. We learn something new. So I just ask for your patience on that, and particularly for some of the doctors, the medical people on this call. I got a lot of feedback from folks, which is great. But what we're finding out is things are changing. So right now it's early in April. We've got a little over almost 3 months before camp starts, and we hope some things change. I even heard a wild rumor that in New Hampshire, the governor is going to say we don't need masks, and that's going to happen in 2 weeks. So who knows? I don't know where that's going to go. Okay, I've about run out of words right now. I want to open up for questions here. First of all, in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Will there be visiting days for monthers? No, Susan, there will not be visiting days for monthers. Again, that's the camp bubble. And the LDPs, for those who've been in that program, they're not going to be able to go home either in the middle of the summer. So there won't be any visitation days for monthers. Um, that's just the way it's going to have to be unless we have a change to there. So that means, Susan, that you guys can take your longer trip, maybe drop the kids off for the whole month, and you don't have to worry about being here in that mid time. How many kids will be in each cabin? New Hampshire has changed that. We'll be having at most 12 campers in a cabin, 2 staff members. At one point, they said we had to have a lower percentage. We can have 12 in a cabin and 2 staff members. Yes, LDP changeover. The kids will stay at camp this year. We'll give them a special activity at camp. We will probably hand them their cell phone so they can do a call home and check with mom and dad on that one. But the LDPs will not be going home with that. Do I expect most of the staff to be vaccinated? That's going to be up to the staff. We're not. The state does not demand, and we are not demanding that the staff get vaccinated. If we get some really good news about vaccination, that it might help, maybe with a day off schedule for the staff or bridal exposure. Yeah, we'll certainly encourage the staff to do that. Some of the staff are already vaccinated. I can tell you that from the year-round staff, and I'm not going to bust any HIPAA rules on that one. But many of the full-time staff are already vaccinated. Of course, some of us are old people, so we want to make sure we're protected. Uh, when will we find out who is in the cabin? I assume you mean the cabin list there. The cabin list assignments are done literally sometimes the night before camp. And we do that because, well, because, there's cancellations at the last minute. And what we do, for those of you who've never been to camp before, here's the secret on cabin assignments. You ready for this one? All right. The secret on cabin assignments is we take the youngest 12 campers and put them in the youngest cabin. We take the oldest 12 campers and put them in the oldest camper cabin. And then we just fill in from the ends going in that way here. And of course, we try to honor cabin request lists. We put them by age and then by grade. So it's not a lot of science, but if somebody cancels or we have a wrong birth date on somebody, it can jump over several cabin distances. So that's why we don't do the cabins earlier. Will there be group activities more than just cabin group in the evening, like unit night, cabin wide? Yes, we do anticipate some group activities. We do anticipate maybe some changes in those. And we also anticipate maybe after week 5, we can loosen up a little bit on the cohorts. There will be some group activities. We still have to figure out how to do some activities. We haven't quite figured it out yet, but we're literally going through every activity and trying to figure out what's a safe way to do that activity there. Do the kids need to wear the masks in the cabins? No, Jennifer. The kids don't have to wear masks in the cabins. That's their cohort. That's going to be their safe area. When they're in the cabin, they're outside walking between cabins and stuff like that. They don't have to wear their mask, which is good. They're only going to have to wear the mask if they're in an activity with people that are not in their cohort. Um, I'm reading things here. I understand a little more what's happening if a child becomes positive in the cabin. Will there be a notification to the family and also an option to potentially pick them up in this situation? Yes, totally. Communication's king. Communication's king to Skylar. And if someone in the cabin comes down with COVID, we will instantly let everybody know, the parents know that there's been exposure in the cabin, that the cabin is going to be just quarantine is not the right word, but put off to the side a little while and not interact with the other camp members. They'll still enjoy camp, but their activities will be changed a little bit until we be able to clear the cabin. We'll definitely call all the parents on that. And funny thing is, the tough thing to bring this up, we have to do this sometimes with lice too. I mean, every once in a while we'll get a case of lice at camp. And the things we have to do is I get on the phone or have to do emails. We'll let everybody know. It's just what it is. So we'll be over communicating this year. Please, I hope when the kids are at camp, I really, we had cabin camping last year and Wetabasaki weekends. To the best of my knowledge, we didn't have any cases and we had close to 1,000 people here. And we just hope nothing happens here at camp. I just hope you guys are, not glued to your iPhone all summer when the kids are at camp. But yeah, we'll let you know. We'll send texts on that one here. Will you have horseback riding program? Yeah, we will have horseback riding program. As I said last month, we have a little bit of a problem with the horses because trying to dip them by their heels into the hydrogen peroxide is just really difficult. They don't seem to like that. But we figured a way how to do it. So we will be having horseback riding this year. The best of my knowledge, the horses don't have to wear masks. So that's good. Hopefully that won't change. But yeah, horseback riding will be happen at camp. With the vaccine, of course. Yeah, I agree with that, Andy. Okay, with the vaccine, you don't need to quarantine if exposed. So I would highly encourage that for staff early care. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Obviously, we do encourage that. I may have missed it. How are we handling travel? Would be a requirement to adhere to New Hampshire state travel guidelines for those who are not doing point to point. New Hampshire, best of my knowledge, as of last Friday, New Hampshire is not requiring quarantine at this point. We're asking parents to use your common sense. Really use your common sense because your child's not the only one in the cabin, and you're going to have to depend on the other parent to make sure the kids have not been in compromising situations between whenever they take the test and when you get to camp and when you're traveling to camp. So there is right now, there's no quarantine before camp, but there is a test required before camp. Can I see my LDP when I drop off my monther? That's a good question. That's a good question. I'd probably say, yeah, there's probably a way we can figure that one out. I'm making this up as I go. I'm not sure if hugging is going to be involved, but yeah, we should probably have some wave zone or something like that so you can see your kid, make sure they're doing all right. How does the picking up look like? Well, the pickup, we're not sure what the pickup's going to look like. The drop off, the worst case is going to be we meet you at the car, we take the kids from the car and take them to their cabins. The pickup, we've thought all kinds of things. We're not sure exactly how that's going to look. Uh, we think we'll let, we could take the child to the car. We could bring all the luggage to the car. We're just not sure about that one. We also got to have a safe zone. So, we have parents that come from all over the country, and some are driving for distances. So we're going to have some bathrooms here at camp, and comfort stations and things like that. So we got to figure that out too. Can you say something about the bear and pal and perhaps wildlife and highland experience? Um, yes, we're still able to do trips this summer. The trips will not be able to go to Canada this year for the Chibougamau trip. We'll be able to do trips in cohort groups. We will not be able to do trips where they're interfacing with the general population or the general public areas. So we're going to be doing backcountry trips, things like that. In the past, the Highland Cabin has done rafting. We're not going to be able to do rafting, obviously, because you're with other people in rafting. Um, so the trips will happen like normal as much as we can. Um, no change there, but they won't be any interface with the public. Remember, we're trying to keep the bubble intact at camp as much as we can, so we're trying to eliminate all the potential leakage of that. Um, Tom Hudson asked, "Will you be doing pool testing for the kids at camp?" Um, Tom, we don't have a pool at camp, so I'm not sure how we can do that testing. No. Um, I don't know the answer to that question. That depends on the testing method that the state lets us do, and also with working with the labs. I know the UNH, for example, is doing pool testing with the college age kids. That can save us a lot of money, certainly, if we do the pool testing. So that's something we're very interested in doing because that's quicker, it's less expensive. We're not quite sure yet. So tune in a little bit later on that, Tom. That's a good thing to do. Should kids bring their own water and snacks? They don't need to bring their own water to camp. We have water at camp. We don't have to do anything about meals. Meals will have choices like normal here at camp. If you've got a child who's gluten free, we can take care of that. If you've got some allergies, we can continue to take care of that. No changes there. The one structure we have done at camp, and I should probably get some pictures of this and send it out, is we've eliminated the water fountains. No more water fountains at camp. So what we've got is bottle fillers. So you stick your bottle underneath and the water comes in from the top. So make sure you send your kids with a water bottle. Please put their name on it so they don't get distributed. And we'll try to make it so the kids aren't sharing water bottles uh, here at camp. LDP 1 and LDP Hybrid this year are doing Allagash. So we're not going to Chibougamau. They're both 2 trips to Allagash. And I tell you, George Bowling is so upset that he has to go on the Allagash twice this summer. He's just inconsolable, but he'll do the best he can. And then I just told him to be a man and suck it up. But I've got a bunch of other staff members that are more than willing to take his place, including myself. But George will get to go on the Allagash, I think, twice this summer. That's probably going to be one of the only trips we take outside of the state. But as those of you might be familiar with the Allagash, it's a remote place. There's no other groups on that trip. Okay, how are we doing so far? All right, the questions have slowed down, which is good. We're going to have more Zoom calls every month, first part of the month. We're also going to keep updating our FAQs on the website when we get news and get changes. Um, my email is bob@christiancamps with an s.net, bob@christiancamps.net. You are more than welcome if you have other questions or individual questions about things, or if you have some advice to me, that's great because this is your camp. We're here just running it for you and the kids and everything. And we hope you take advantage of your kids being at camp this summer by having some fun yourself, because you guys have all put out a lot this year with school and all kinds of other things. You've done it. Why don't we take off the, why don't you guys take off, unmute yourselves. And if you got any questions you want to ask out loud, I'll be happy to answer them. I'll keep looking over the side here. One other thing. On May, let me look this up. We're having a open house. On May 29th, we have an open house here in New Hampshire. If you want to come up that day for an open house, we'll be having an open house. You can walk through. We will be serving lunch that day. It won't be steak tips. It will be something a little bit less cumbersome. But we will be having lunch that day. If you want to come up and see the camp, that's fine. If that day doesn't work out, folks, I'm here 24/7. I'm more than happy to give you a tour of the camp. So if it would be best for your family, If your child is experiencing a little bit of anxiety, and seeing where they might be in a cabin would help. Or even if you're experiencing some anxiety, we're going to have some parental anxiety this year, because this is the first time some of you are going to be away from the kids in a while. I know some of the parents are out there saying, "Yes, I can't wait." Other you are, might have some anxiety. So we understand that it's a different thing this year. So if you want to have a tour, I'd be happy to do that. Several families have already taken me up on that. I'm just more than happy to give the tours. This weekend, I actually had one on Friday, and it was an 8-year-old. Boy, I hope the mom's not on this call, but oh well, I'll go into this one here. But I had an 8-year-old boy, real cute kid, and mom came up for a tour on Good Friday, and we all obviously had our masks on, and we walked over to the moose cabin. The moose cabin is the cabin for the little boys, and we walked in the moose cabin, and the moose cabin walked in the bathroom, and the mom saw where the bathroom was, and there's toilets and sinks and a cubby area. And he said, "Oh, what's that cubby area?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's where you put your shaving kit." And this little 8-year-old boy looks up at me and says, "I don't shave." And I said, "Well, I don't know. Your mask is on." So he goes, boom, pulls the mask right off and said, "See?" And so that was a good time. So yeah, 8-year-old boys at camp don't do the masking. Okay. We had another question from Josh Bennett to everyone. Will LDPs be in the new Ranger? Okay. Wow, that's a puffball question. Thank you, Josh. We are actually, and this is for some of you, this new information. Some of you, it's old information. About 8 months before this COVID hit, we started a capital campaign at camp. And we do capital campaigns every once in a while. The capital campaigns are there to pay for things that we can't pay out of tuition. For example, a new cabin. We just don't charge enough money in tuition to pay for a new cabin or a new dining hall or stuff like that. We're nonprofit. We literally try to end the year with, nothing in the bank that direction as far as operations are concerned. A lot of money goes to scholarship every year. So we use capital campaigns to raise money for projects. And we've identified several projects at camp. So we started this capital campaign. We were in a quiet phase, and we had some money donated to the new Ranger cabin. So we decided to start it this year. And if you go to the camp page on the camp cameras, you'll actually see a picture of the Ranger. Now, by the way, Jeff, don't go to the picture right now because it's dark here and you won't be able to see it. The camp camera won't see it. But we've started the new Ranger cabin here at camp, and the new Rangers will be in the new Ranger cabin this year. And Andy, I know you've spent some time in that Ranger cabin for one summer, didn't you? You were nodding your head.
Yes, we were the last girls group. I was a first year in the back. And ironically, my son was the last boys group ever in that first group in the back.
Wow, we got bookends here. Well,
Yep.
Let me tell you something we're going to do very interesting with the Ranger. This summer, Andy, we're going to use it as a quarantine cabin if we need to, the old Ranger. So it's going to go out with a bang. And then at the end of the summer, we're going to cut it up. And if you make a donation to camp for that capital campaign as being part of the Ranger, we're going to send you a piece of the Ranger unit. And we've got ourselves a brand that will brand the dates of the Ranger unit in that, and we'll send that to you as a thank you for supporting us at camp for the capital campaign. So
yes, we have 2 coming to us.
2 plaques already. Good.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we had Mark and me. We have 2 people who were in the Ranger.
All right. Well, thank you for your contributions to the capital campaign, Andy. We really appreciate it. It makes camp a lot easier and easier for me to run. Okay. We doing all right, folks? Good. All right. Any questions? You can unmute it if you want. I'd be happy to talk to you. Don't feel like you don't have to be up tonight. If you want to go watch the Hallmark channel, the show's just starting. And if you watch the first 10 minutes of the Hallmark channel, you already know who the guy and the girl are. The guy's the one with the big hair and the big teeth.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bob.
You're welcome.
Kids are very, very, very excited.
Good. I'm glad. All right. And we'll have another Zoom meeting in a month. Again, email me if you got any more questions. Okay. Thanks, folks, for being just a great set of parents for camp. Thanks for joining us.
Bob. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Good night.
Good night.
Amazing. Sounds so good.
Thanks again.